Hello and welcome to the Fit Executive Show. Your host, Arne Wildner, lost 50 pounds himself before helping hundreds of other entrepreneurs and executives sustainably lose weight and take charge of their health. In the Fit Executive Show, you'll learn field-tested weight loss strategies and how to effectively juggle your successful life and staying fit at the same time. Please welcome your host, Arne Wildner.
Hello.
And I'm Grace, and today we have a very special
special guest.
Bart. Nice
Hello,
to meet you, Bart.
Great to be here. No pressure.
Oh, yeah.
We're really excited to start talking to some more guests, people that are, that our listeners can relate to. And we thought you would be the perfect first guest to have on. Arne has been coaching and working with Bart for a few months now. And I'm really looking forward to get to know you because I've heard so much. So let's jump right in. We have some really, really great questions. And Arne, do you want to get started?
Well, Bart, how about you just give us a quick little intro about yourself? Like, who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, maybe I should now put on my profile, first guest of the Fit Executive Show.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
please.
no, that's right. No, my name is Bart Egnell. I'm 44 and I am an entrepreneur. So I have two companies in the leadership development space. I own and run. I've been in the business for over 2 decades, and I'm also a really passionate cyclist. I used to race bikes. Now I'm older. I just love to ride far and with my friends. And so that's who I am. I've got 3 young kids, live here in Toronto. And so what led us to cross paths? Well, Grace, I blame you. Your LinkedIn targeting obviously worked. But no, I was primed for a conversation. I've always had in my life professionals who have helped me, in business, coaches, advisors, but also in my kind of active side of life. I've worked with different cycling coaches for over a decade. I worked with a personal trainer. And so I began to think in the last year or so, it might be time to work with someone on the nutrition front. And so you found me, Grace, during that time. And then, ultimately, I know we had a first conversation that led me to connect with you, Arne, and it's been a marriage made in protein heaven ever since.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
So let's talk about what you do, because it's the Fit Executive Show, and we invite CEOs and entrepreneurs to talk about what they do and what inspired you to choose that path that you went for.
Yeah. For sure. I won't say I went to university. I took history that I had ever thought this would be my path. My mom actually started our company. She was a speechwriter and a coach. And so she said, when I was in university, come work with some of our clients, work on their speeches. And I did. And so when I graduated, it was either to go do my master's, or she said, why don't you come work with me? And so I went to work for her. I learned how to write speeches for executives, how to coach them. And I really found I liked the work. And I also saw an opportunity to grow the business by providing training to their teams. And so I began building my practice in the firm in that way. But I really wanted to grow the company. That was my passion. And so I kind of set out to do that. And ultimately, 15 years ago, moved to Vancouver to open an office, grow the business, had some success. And then, as the business was growing, my mom said, look, why don't you buy the company from me? So ultimately, that's what I did. And became an entrepreneur, I guess, at that point. I wasn't really before it. I was an employee, but then took on entrepreneurship because I believed in what we did, believed in our ability to grow the business. And that continues to this day. I believe that, like what you do, what we do, you can teach people and work with them to help them internalize that ability to inspire, to lead, or to, eat well. And so that's really what we get to do with our clients. And I still do a bit of training here and there with some of our clients and ultimately see the impact. And so, it's been a journey. It's, entrepreneurship has its emotional ups and downs.
Yeah.
That's where cycling really allows, outside of it, kind of mentally self-regulate and just de-stress. So that's a big complementary part of my entrepreneurial life.
Wow. So you were talking about the ups and downs of entrepreneur life.
Yeah.
What were your favorite downs? I always
How
like to
long do
talk
we have,
about
Arnie? How long do we
I
have?
always like to talk about the so-called failures because I
Yeah.
think this is such a big opportunity to learn and to grow and to learn from other people's so-called failures. And then when you look back, what what great opportunities evolved
Mhm.
from that seemed to be in the first place like a failure. What was it for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the game for a while now, so there are a lot of them, and some of them are failures, some are setbacks, some are just much harder things than you think. I mean, it was, I'd say, first it was very difficult doing a deal to buy the company from my mom. We both
Wow.
did want to do it, but we both had very different views of what that transaction should look like. It took
Mhm.
2.5 years
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
and
wow.
lots of
She's a good
lawyers and
negotiator.
accounts. Very
Yeah,
tough,
she's a
Oh
wow.
yeah, so it was very difficult, but in the end, we were successful because we ultimately did both wanted it, and so I learned a lot. Some of the things I wish I hadn't learned, it was too painful, but so that
Yeah.
it was ultimately successful. And we have a great
Yeah,
relationship
exactly.
now, and then I
Yeah.
think another thing, and then I was really fortunate to enjoy a lot of success in growing it, and I kind of thought, you kind of when you have success, you think you've got the magic touch, and everything you
Hmm.
do will work. And really, there were by 2020 and COVID was a very challenging year in the training industry because
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
companies stopped doing training. They're like, we
Yeah.
have huge diversification geographically, industry, across companies, and yet I was like, there's no situation where every company stops training. Well, there was, and so
Okay.
that was a very challenging year, and it led to an acceleration of a lot of changes in how training was designed and delivered. So I think,
Mhm.
going through something like that was very difficult. And then lastly, the world is changing, how people buy, how people consume training,
Mhm.
how
Yeah.
we manage a team. I have a global team that's fully remote or remote first,
Mhm.
we call it. And so
Mm.
you're continually having to adapt. And I feel like the pace of adaptation
Mhm.
is higher in recent years than it ever has. So
Yeah.
there's, all of these things contribute back to your question around setbacks, I would say, or failures. They really are all posing challenges to kind of realizing the level of success I want. I'm very ambitious,
Oh,
I want to
okay.
go a certain way. And so sometimes, probably like, journey with working on nutrition, right? You want it to happen in a linear fashion. You want it to go, but it's lumpier.
It's never gonna look like you think.
No,
No, no.
no,
And maybe you look back and you say it worked out, but in the middle of it, it's not as
yeah.
Absolutely.
But let me clarify. For me, there are only two ways to fail, and the first is not getting started, and the second is just quitting. And that
right.
Yeah.
everything else is just overcoming challenges. And most of the so-called failures in my life have been
Hmm.
like a blessing in disguise. I always
Hmm.
ask the question like, what if it was a gift?
Right.
And usually it shows later. Like I went bankrupt, but that
Mhm.
led me to my current
Right.
career path. I
Yeah.
once had a Mexican restaurant without
Taco Casa.
taco casa. I've never been to
Really.
Mexico in my life, but I thought it was a great
Made
idea to
perfect
open up
sense.
a, yeah, it
In
makes
Germany,
perfect
where
sense. So
they're like, we're much more advanced here in North
Right.
America in terms of Mexican food because Mexico is so close and the
Right.
US has such an influence on us. It's normal to
yeah.
have a Mexican restaurant in smaller cities and Arnie, I don't know what, 15 years ago.
There are no Mexicans in Germany, or barely.
Yeah.
So, and I was in the US. I got inspired by Taco Bell. We always had that after swim
Your
breaks.
dirty
So,
secret, Arnie.
but yes, it is. But the story goes, I opened the restaurant. I went bankrupt within 6 months. I because of that. I got into the beer industry. I
Right.
gained the weight. I developed my method that made this unique approach that I
Just like
followed.
you predicted, it all worked out.
Exactly. And I met Grace because she was a waitress in one of the craft
There
beer
you
pubs
go.
that I was working, or
It all worked
the
out.
brand I
Yeah.
was representing.
And then I
So,
lost my jobs because I was a professional ballet dancer
Right.
and the pandemic.
and then we
So
started this coaching business.
yeah,
So,
we started on April 1st, 2020.
Wow.
So we basically started our company right like in this moment where I thought, oh, I'm just going to have a couple of weeks off. I'm sure things will
Right.
go back to normal. right?
Yeah.
So but that was the best thing we ever did, honestly.
Yeah.
It really taught us grit and perseverance, and really that
Yeah.
there's no excuses. If you want to do something, you have to find a way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, that all came from our failures.
You
So
owe it all to Taco Bell.
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Taco Bell. Thank you, little Chihuahua. So, but so this show is called the Fit Executive Show. And why do you think, Bart, is it so important, especially when you are a leader in business
Mm.
and a father, to stay on top of your health and of your
Yeah.
fitness?
It is really important. I mean, for me, I can say, it's a big part of my well-being. So much of the week, there's so many emotional ups and downs in a given week. I joke with my team, the weeks are long and the years are short, right? You just like every
yeah.
week.
Oh yeah.
But exercise is, I mean, there's so much research, I'm sure you have it all around, the power of exercise and mental health and self-regulation. So that's one thing. I think the second thing is, it is in some ways it's like an endurance, running a company, being an entrepreneur is like an endurance sport. You're
Absolutely.
continually
Oh,
under,
absolutely.
it's like an extreme marathon, right? There are some breaks through the year. You got to take them, but you need to train to stay resilient. And so for me, fitness is part of that. And I would say for me, the other thing is it's a great social and professional connection. I have made a lot of friends and connect with a lot of, clients and business contacts through sport. So it's really enriched my life, and I think it's been important for me and will continue to be so.
Mm, mm,
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And I think you're such a good first guest here, because a lot of people, when they hear weight loss for entrepreneurs or weight loss
Mhm.
for executives, they say like, "Oh, I guess that wouldn't really apply to me because I'm
Mhm.
not really so overweight. I only really want to lose
Mhm.
5 to 10 pounds." Like I would say probably over 75% of our clients
they
were
are in the range 10 to 25 pounds, usually the last 10 to 25.
Yeah.
exactly.
And my theory is that they just have higher standards for
Mhm.
themselves, and
Hmm.
nobody on the street would
Would say, "Hey, you're overweight.
you
You
are,
need
Right.
to lose weight."
yes, exactly. And so,
Yeah.
but what made you like want to work with a coach?
Yeah. Well, I think, for, having been in sport, pretty serious cyclist. So I ride, maybe 350 to 400 hours a year, 10,000 kilometers. I used to race, and,
Wow.
I wasn't like, I was a mediocre masters athlete, but, still would kind of get on some podiums. And so I knew what like being at my peak fitness was. And part of that for cycling, it's a power to weight ratio sport. So I also knew
Yeah.
where I was for a long time. And so I think in the last 5 years, and COVID probably accelerated it. I don't know if my eating probably got a little worse. We've got three
Mm,
kids, and then the other thing is I'm getting older, and I think the
mm,
body just slows down, right? The metabolism
mm,
slows down. And so
Yes.
what I told you, Grace, when we met is, I wanted less about the weight loss, that I did want that. I wanted to get back to where I was at a healthy,
mm,
high performance weight. But I also just needed to understand how to switch my diet. I need to understand, I didn't want to go on a diet. I wanted to change my diet. And
Yeah.
I needed someone to help me understand what that looked like while still wanting something that was sustainable. Like I go out for dinners with clients, with my wife, I'm eating with the kids, and I was not prepared to do an exclusion diet. So I think those were the reasons why I was interested. I was skeptical with, and so, but I'm like, you know what, give it a try.
mhm,
So, yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. And are you glad you gave it a try?
Yeah, it's been great. I'm really thrilled.
Trick question. You
Ahead,
have to
no,
say
ahead of,
yes.
I think we set back in December when we sat down for our goal. We set some goals. I think, I wanted to get back. I'm going on a big trip to Italy for cycling, and
Oh, cool.
I think I just wanted to lose 5 or 6 pounds and then stretch maybe to 8 or 9, and yeah, ahead of schedule. So I think what's more important too is that I haven't really felt that I have to sacrifice what I'm eating. I feel like my kind of rewired my body in terms of,
Oh,
and I
wonderful.
understand how to prepare and food and in ways that is, better choices. So it's been great. It's been a great shift.
And what has been your biggest surprise along the way? Like what the biggest lesson that you didn't expect that yeah that you
Yeah.
implemented?
I think, I mean, the big shift is the focus on protein. So
Okay.
not realizing, or I didn't realize how little protein I was consuming. And so I was dramatically tried to increase that. And I should say to everyone listening, I kind of rejected the Arne approach. Like we had the initial kickoff and you're like, so this is how you're gonna do it. I'm like, it's too much. It's too much. I'm not gonna weigh my food or count my calories or anything. But so I went with the kind of Arne light, I'm calling it.
Yeah.
But I think the principles-based approach has worked really well. And
Okay.
so really increasing the protein, significantly increasing, as you call them, the color foods, the vegetables. So my vegetable consumption has soared. And therefore, by doing those things, I have not craved. I mean, I used to consume, in retrospect, a lot of carbs, and now I just do not feel the need to eat that much in between meals in particular. So that's been the big.
But you still eat carbs, right?
Yeah, I do absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, just many fewer.
Yeah, but that's the kind of the beauty of increasing the protein intake. I've also found that as well. Like I myself have not eaten meat in like 10 years, except for probably twice, right? And I eat fish though. But when I started, I've never had to lose weight myself, but when I started working with Arne in this business, I really saw the emphasis he put on protein and I started implementing that in my own life. And I did realize that as well. Like, wow, I don't really crave those kind of foods randomly anymore. Like I obviously allow myself and I do enjoy eating chips and I do enjoy having ice cream, but it's not like I need it like late at night, man, I'm so hungry.
The cravings just stop when you find a way. First of all, we don't there are no off-limit foods. This is also important to know that you can have everything, but you don't want it the moment you can, but you have better alternatives that are also fun, then you don't want that anymore. It's important to know that everybody needs their own Arnie Light version because no one wants to live like a bodybuilder who's getting on stage, and weigh everything, and it has to be satisfying. It has to be simple. It has to be social proof, and it just has to be sustainable at the end. And this looks different for everybody. So, what were the foods that you thought we would definitely cut out that we left it?
That's a good question. I mean, I think you were pretty upfront, both of you, that there was like nothing off limits. So I think it was more, the harder thing for me was when we first met and we went through like a typical day of what I was eating and thinking about, wow, there's a lot in there. Because in the end, I think the other thing is like the reality is if you want to cut pounds, you got to be in calorie deficit, right? So there's no kind of secret from that. So realizing, okay, this is going to have to come down. And then you're thinking about that. That was very kind of mentally challenging to conceive. I think what happened though is that when you start eating much more protein, so I'm just now like every morning is that smoothie. That's a great way to start. And then, midday, have a huge salad and some meat, so you feel the protein. And then you kind of are pretty good, to the mid-afternoon or early, even to dinner, depending on the lunch. So you're just not feeling the need to kind of fill it.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, the question that came to my mind is what do you think is the biggest myth about a fit executive lifestyle?
Oh, that's a good question. I definitely think a lot, entrepreneurship is different, right? Because you have a lot more control over your time. I do think, because I serve, my clients are literal executives in publicly traded companies and, private companies. And in many ways, I'm fortunate in that I have much more schedule flexibility and autonomy and ownership. Right? So I can integrate fitness into my life. And I see that for them, the executives, it's more challenging. Your schedule is not your own. So I think that would pose unique challenges, I think, for executives in companies versus entrepreneurs that I wouldn't face.
And how would you advise your clients to handle this? Like how to integrate fitness into their lives?
Well, I think it's hard with fitness. I mean, you got to find a way. I mean, at least my sport is a time suck. Cycling is very, very time consuming. But if I was doing other kinds of fitness, just like strength and conditioning or things, you can work around it. Even cycling, my club here, it's called Morning Glory in Toronto. It's like over 1,000 people. And
Wow.
it was formed by executives, bankers, lawyers who
Wow.
wanted to ride. And so they meet at 5:40 in the morning. They ride from 5:40 to 7 during the week, 4 days a week, and on the weekend at 6. So I ride usually on the weekend with them. And so they can get a great workout in before work, right? And
Yeah.
so they just
Yeah.
prioritize it. I think the other thing, based on my experience, is nutrition, right? You can integrate nutrition all the time.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I really think that is, that there's some expression, you've probably heard it. It's like you actually like get fit in the kitchen or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Abs are made in the kitchen.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. So, nutrition, I think nutrition is, as you get older, gets more and more important. That's what I found. All the 10 years ago, kind of the little, like my riding activity is similar, but my nutrition has had to improve because I'm older, and so I think you have to become, as you age, you have to become much more mindful
Yes.
of what
Yeah.
goes into the engine.
Yeah,
So my
that's
my
a
my
good point.
advice to my executive clients is always you cannot delegate your health. You are the only one who has to live inside your body for the rest of your life,
Yeah.
and it's your responsibility to take care of it as if it was your last,
Yeah.
and
Like
to
take the time, find the time,
find the time, make
join the
the
morning glory.
yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't
It's
have it
incredible.
doesn't have to be like hours like you do each week. Like how many hours do you spend? Like 10
Yeah, probably during season, 10 hours a
so
week.
that might
Wow.
not be sustainable for others,
Wow.
Yeah.
but you just prioritize it.
Yeah.
You said this is important to me, and I take the time. For others, it might be maybe usually the most of my clients spend around 2 hours working out, but
Yeah.
then you don't need extra time for your nutrition. You just
Right.
need to have the right strategies that
Right.
allow you to integrate it into your everyday life and that are flexible enough to survive in the long run and that are so much fun that you never want to
Totally.
get rid of them. The thing is, the cookie will always be tastier than the broccoli, and
Yeah.
it's always easier to stay on the couch and watch another Netflix episode. But
Mhm.
if you do that for the rest of your life, then you end up miserable. And
You
so
can you can
just
watch Netflix while you're on the bike trainer. I do that too.
There you go.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah, or listen to a great podcast while you're going for a walk,
Totally.
maybe
Yeah.
walk to work, or in our case, we're so lucky, us entrepreneurs and our entrepreneur clients that we get we get to influence where we work, when we work, how much we work, and we can take those opportunities to cultivate like more of a healthy lifestyle. Like
Yeah.
us, we picked this office just because of the distance from the home and the river pathway and the way here to make it like a beautiful 30-minute walk twice a day.
Wonderful.
Even in winter.
Even in winter, versus we
Yeah.
could have said, oh, we're just going to work from home, or we're just going to rent. There's an office for rent directly across the street from our
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, look at that's for rent. Arne was like,
No,
no, we need to walk.
that's very important. Yeah, you have to create a lifestyle
It's
for
not going to
you.
happen on its own.
Right.
Exactly. It's not gonna happen on its own. You have to make it happen yourself. You have to take action. Nobody else will do it for you.
It's true.
And you just cannot lean back and say, okay, this is not made for me.
Yeah, get a dog,
Yeah.
a really
Yeah.
lazy dog. You can just see his feet. He's on his back, but
Yeah. Yeah. Lazy. Put them on the Arne method.
yeah, but it's really interesting because a lot of entrepreneurs who, like, I love that you made that point, Bart, that we have so much flexibility, because a lot of entrepreneurs, when we first start speaking with them, they do see an issue, they definitely want to make a change, otherwise they wouldn't be speaking to us, but they
Yeah.
don't see the flexibility, and they only see, I have so much work to do, plus I have my kids, I'm so
Yeah.
stressed, I don't have time. And Arnie's thing is always like, how can we make the time,
It's hard. I mean, I have a lot of friends who are entrepreneurs. One of the downsides of being an entrepreneur is you're never off, right? I call it
Exactly.
it's
Yes.
like the
Yeah.
long war, right? You're never,
Yes.
it's war without end, right? You have a great year, great. You have to hire more people, great. Your costs go up, and so
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
can be emotionally encroaching, right? You always have
Yeah.
there's always something going wrong. Even
Exactly.
success brings new problems, right? And
Yes.
the buck
But how
literally
do you
stops.
handle it? How
Sorry?
how do you handle that in
know,
your case?
It's exercise is one way, it takes you out of your head. You just
Yeah.
have to and gives you, and cycling's great because you're going, like on Friday, I did a 5-hour ride with actually a fellow entrepreneur of mine, so a friend of mine. And so we talked about some of these challenges.
Oh my gosh.
And, but you're kind of in the flow state. I think
Mhm.
another thing is, you just have to have a group of advisors. I mean, I have my fitness advisors and I have business advisors who I can go to and talk through challenges, because
Mhm.
it is a long journey, and with
Yeah.
journey without end. So I think, your mental management, and if you allow yourself to just say, if you're in crisis mode all the time,
Mm.
you'll collapse, right? Because you
Mm.
can't sustain
Mm.
that. So I do
Yeah.
think having, your mind and body right and active and you're moving helps kind of improve and your resilience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Uh,
I see fitness and health and taking care of those things as an investment in myself. And
Yeah.
I can only be there 100% for my family, for my friends, for my business, for my clients, if I take care of myself first. So I am
mhm.
the most important person in my life because I want to serve others. Because
Mhm.
I want to serve others, I have to take care of my own
Mhm.
self first. This is the mindset that is necessary also
Mhm.
to prioritize it. Because as you said, there are so many things coming at you and you're
Right.
never off. But if with the right mindset, at the end,
Yeah.
you will make it happen. And this is also the transformation that occurs usually when I work with clients is the inner transformation. And the
Hmm.
outer appearance is just the result of different thinking habits, different habits like
Hmm.
exercising and eating habits. And then the body, I always call it
Right.
the revealing the
Yeah.
David inside of the stone block. One
Right.
hit at a time, one meal at a time, one workout at a
Mhm.
time, one good decision at a time.
Yeah.
And you need all of that in
Yeah, and
order
I
to.
think it's been great having, like with working with you, I've learned a lot about my nutrition, how to make those choices. And I also just think because we talked about it's not a linear path, right?
Mm,
What you
Mhm.
mm,
also have done, been there for me, is just to serve as that advisor. Said, no, like let's look at the trend, let's look at where it's going, or make
mm,
small adjustments. Because if you're just doing it yourself, it can be, difficult to self-regulate, based on each week.
mm, mm.
So I think, having it's been a nice support system there. I've enjoyed
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed
Yeah.
working with you. What were the outcomes that you are the happiest about?
Yeah, I mean, we started at January 1st. And so I'd say, from a first outcome is feeling great about knowing what to eat, what's going to work. And I've been able to make those choices not only, day in and day out, but still perform at a high level on the bike. I mean, that's the other thing too,
Wow.
because if I was starving myself and I couldn't perform,
Hmm.
Yeah.
it's all pointless, right? So,
Yeah.
and I'm in the gym once or twice a week as well. So
Oh.
hitting records in lifting and the bike is great. So I'd say that's one. I'd say secondly is, the weight loss, right? I have gotten back to where I wanted to be, which was about 10 pounds. Yeah, so that's been great. And then third is just feeling like I'm able to do all of this without sacrificing in my
Nice.
kind of day to day. You do have to be more mindful. It's not without cost.
Of
Yeah.
course. Of
And you
course.
have to be more intentional, but it
Mhm.
hasn't been deprivation. Oh, my dog's here. Hold on for one second. She's
Oh,
coming. I have the German brand of dog, Arne.
oh my God.
Oh, do you have a German Shepherd?
No, the wiener dog.
Oh my God, a
Ah,
Yeah,
dachshund. A
exactly.
dachshund. Yeah.
Germany
dachshund.
call it a
This is
Dackel.
egg roll.
Egg
Egg
roll.
roll. Who named?
My wife, she always wanted a dachshund named Egg Roll. She's
Oh my
14.
God.
There we go.
She's
Yeah,
14.
so she wanted to be in on the action.
She's a
uh,
trooper. Where do you see yourself in 14 years in terms of
uh,
health and fitness?
Well, probably still riding, still riding as
Yeah.
much as I do. Who knows? Maybe I'll be retired by that point, and just riding around the world, living, enjoying life, continuing to enjoy great food. My wife is also very into fitness. She's a personal trainer and Pilates instructor. She had a career change 3 years ago from being a teacher, and she loves it. So we're kind of united in health. And my
Yeah.
kids will be 14, so all my kids will be at university. Hopefully, they're out on their own, fully deployed. But yeah,
Crushing it.
still feeling great about fitness and health and
Yeah.
living by some of these principles.
Great.
Oh, awesome.
Awesome.
Oh, that's so wonderful. It's been so nice chatting with you. Is there
Yeah.
any question that you wished we had asked you?
You know, No, I mean, I think, look, I'm just grateful. I've learned a lot working with you. It's been a wonderful, like, exceeded my expectations. And I do think, what I've gotten is a sense of how to make great choices and feel like I love eating because I love to eat. So it's still, I'm deeply appreciative of both of you and what you've done. And I'm sure you're bringing the same experience to others. So thanks for having me
Thank you so
on, and thanks
much.
for all the support. And I know
Thank
we're
you
not
so
done,
much.
Arnie. We're not done. So
We are not done. We are tackling the next goals. So let the listeners know, where can people find you online?
yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. It's probably the best way. Bart Egnell. I'm CEO of the Humphrey Group and chairman of the Niagara Institute. So, and I do a podcast as well. I do in year 6. It's called the Inspired Podcast. We talk
Wow.
about inspirational leadership. We're over 100,000 listens, and sometimes I
Great.
have athletes on as well. So check out the pod. It's wherever you get your podcasts.
Awesome. Inspire podcast. We're gonna link it in the show notes.
Love it.
And yeah, it's
It's
been a
been a pleasure.
blast.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
so
for
much for
coming
taking
Thank
on.
you for
the time.
making me the first guest.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. You've been really inspired me as an entrepreneur, and also I think our audience can relate to pretty much everything you said. So we
Great.
wish you a successful week. Have fun
Thanks
and
so
crush
much.
it. Good luck
Oh
with
my God.
I'm
everything
going.
with
I'm actually
Arnie.
going to work out in 2 hours, so this is
There you
perfectly.
go. That's right. Yeah, get back to work.
That's right. That's right. All right.
Perfect, Bart. Thank you
Thanks.
so much for coming on, and talk soon.
And that's it for today's show. Thank you for spending your valuable time with us. If you want to lose weight but don't want to do it all by yourself, go to arniewildner.com/call and book an appointment for a free 15-minute phone call with us, where we'll look at your situation, your obstacles, and your goals to find out if and how we can help you.